I'd like to just make a few statements leading into the discussion from the BMW perspective concerning how we're dealing with sustainability challenges. And I'd like to sort of maybe grasp on one topic that my previous speaker mentioned, and that's the idea of mitigation and innovation. And in terms of the BMW Group, what we have done in terms of looking forward and in terms of trying to cope with sustainability challenges is try to reduce things to really two things. On the one hand, evolution. How can we continue doing what we are doing, but create incremental changes? I think there's a lot of potential in what is often referred to as nudging, small improvements that can make a big difference in what you're doing. And on the one hand, think about really the issue of revolution. How can we come up with a completely new technology to redefine what we're doing? And I think that a lot of the sustainability debate looking forward can be really reduced down to these two elements. How can we, on the one hand, evolve, but on the other hand, also come up with revolutionary forces? And I'd like to maybe give a few examples from a BMW Group perspective in terms of how we've been able to do both of these things. If we look at evolution, that can be really reduced down to the issue of how do we improve the internal combustion engine? And just to give you an example in terms of some numbers, between 1995 and the year 2012, the BMW Group has been able to reduce the average CO2 output of our EU fleet by over 30%. So that hasn't been through a completely new revolutionary technology. That's been through improving the internal combustion engine, really a whole wide range of measures. Maybe to give you an example of evolutionary change that does not apply to just the product, but in terms of how we do our business in the value chain, there are plenty of good examples. And I think that if you practice sustainability correctly, there's a real business case in there as well. And just to highlight one example, in our BMW Group plant in the United States in Spartanburg, we have installed a methane gas facility tapping the energy of a nearby landfill site, and we're able to save 92,000 tons of CO2 output per year. And just to give you a feeling for the business case, that is involved in 8.6 million euro one-time investment. But because of that, we're actually able to make cost energy savings by 5 million euros per year. So that gives you a feeling really for, I guess, the potential of practicing sustainability at a business case level. It makes economic sense if it's conducted correctly. And in terms of trying to define what the challenge is, the BMW Group has come up with a phrase referred to as efficient dynamics. And that really involves, on the one hand, improving the efficiency of what we do with our vehicles, but also in our processes. And on the other hand, ensuring that driving is still fun, it's still emotional. And that's sort of been the real challenge that's been posed to our engineers. How can we reduce CO2 output, but at the same time make sure that driving is still fun? I'd like to give you some examples now of revolution looking forward. How can we really capture the potential of new technology? I think all of you are familiar with what's referred to as the S-curve in terms of new technologies. You have a period of time where there's an established technology that is adopted very, very quickly. It flattens off, and then there's a new technology that comes into the market and challenges. And over the past decades, obviously, the incumbent technology has been the internal combustion engine, but we're seeing a period of time now where we have electric mobility being introduced. And the BMW Group has started an initiative in 2007 called BMW I, which is really about reinventing the value chain, rethinking about how we develop, how we market, and how we use vehicles. And it's leading ultimately to the introduction of the BMW i3 and i8 vehicles. The global launch of the BMW i3 is the end of this year. And I think the unique thing about that, and there may be some points to be made that we can apply to other industries as well during the discussion, is that in terms of marketing our BMW i products, we're not just marketing the product, we're starting to market the value chain. And that's the beauty, really, of the process. If you have a clean value chain and you're investing in a clean value chain, then you can really think about marketing that as well. Just to give you an example of some of the figures, we're able to reduce CO2 output through the value chain by 50%. We're using 100% renewable energy that we generate ourselves through wind power to manufacture the vehicles. We're reducing water consumption by 70%. We're using carbon fiber reinforced plastic, where the fibers are manufactured through the use of 100% hydroelectric energy. And we're not just talking about the product, we're talking really about the value chain. And that's becoming more and more of a, let's say, a value or an asset for the customers as well. And I think, maybe just to conclude briefly, sustainability really needs to make fun. That's a point that maybe hasn't been made often enough. Humans are emotional creatures. We like to do things that are emotional, that are fun, that are captivating. Why not try to make sustainability pleasurable, interesting? And I think that we can, through that, really motivate ourselves further. And that's why I think there's an emotional value in there as well. We will be involved in 2 thematic tracks later on today. One of them is called Making Individual Mobility Low Carbon and Sustainable, and the second one is Low Carbon Sustainable Mobility for All. So we welcome you to participate in those discussions, and I'm looking forward to a very fruitful discussion later on as well. So that's, I guess, my final message as well. Let's make sustainability fun and captivating. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn.